He worked 20 years for that house. His own family tried to take it. Some lessons come cheap. Others cost you everything. For one man in his early 30s, the lesson his family learned cost them their home, their finances, and eventually the state they'd always lived in. But before any of that happened, he had to stand in his own driveway and fight for something that was rightfully, legally, and completely his. This is his story. ## the boy who was never the favorite. Anyone who grew up in a household with a golden child knows exactly what he's describing, though most people don't like to admit it happens in real families. It does. All the time. He was the older sibling, the responsible one, the one expected to keep his grades up, do the yard work, fix whatever was broken, and quietly make himself scarce when his parents wanted to focus their attention elsewhere. His sister, 3 years younger, was the creative one, the sensitive one, the one who needed protecting, funding, and constant reassurance. When she failed a class, the teacher was to blame. When something broke, he'd left it somewhere dangerous. When she needed a car for college, their parents bought her one, brand new. They paid her tuition in full, covered her sorority dues, and never once suggested she get a part-time job. He left home at 18. Not dramatically. He just understood that nobody was going to hand him anything, and he'd better get started. ## 20 years of doing it the hard way. He didn't go to a 4-year university. He enrolled in trade school, got certified in HVAC, and then pushed further into industrial refrigeration, a specialty that commands serious money when you're good at it. He was good at it. For over a decade, he lived below his means in a way that would make most people uncomfortable. Studio apartments, a beat-up pickup truck, fast food instead of restaurants. He worked overtime while his family vacationed. He picked up emergency shifts on holidays. His mother once described his absence at family gatherings as a relief. He brought what she called blue-collar energy to occasions she preferred to keep refined. He let that go. He kept working. He kept saving. He kept investing. By his early 30s, he had accumulated enough to purchase a foreclosed property outright. No mortgage, no bank, no monthly payment. Cash in hand. The house was rough. Water damage, outdated wiring, years of neglect. But it sat on a double lot in a neighborhood that was quietly turning around, and the structural bones were solid. He saw what it could become. He spent 8 months transforming it, rewiring the entire house himself, gutting and rebuilding the kitchen, installing a premium HVAC system, converting the detached garage into a fully equipped workshop. When the appraisal came back, the property was worth nearly double what he'd put into it. It was, by any measure, his life's work made physical. A paid-off home worth over $500,000, built and owned by a man who'd never once asked his family for a dime. He didn't tell them about it. They hadn't earned that information. ## the photograph that started everything. He was low contact with his family by this point, a couple of holiday visits a year, brief and polite. They didn't know his salary, his address, or his financial situation. He preferred it that way. Then a cousin, one of the few relatives he genuinely liked, came over for a backyard cookout and posted a photo of the two of them on Facebook. The house was clearly visible in the background. New siding, a freshly built deck, a clean yard. Nothing that identified the address. But enough. His mother saw the post within hours. He ignored the calls for 3 days. When he finally picked up, her voice wasn't warm. She asked why she hadn't been told about the house. He gave vague answers. She asked for the address. He gave it to her, reasoning, naively, as he later admitted, that at 32 years old, he should be able to handle his own parents knowing where he lived. 2 days later, they showed up without calling. ## the inspection. His mother and sister walked through the house the way people walk through a property they're considering purchasing. His sister moved from room to room, offering unsolicited opinions. The hallway color was wrong, the kitchen island too industrial, the leather recliner out of place. But her eyes told a different story. She was cataloging. The quartz countertops. The smart home system. The master suite he'd framed and finished himself. The space. "This is too much for one person, she said, running her hand along the stainless refrigerator. "It's wasteful." He told her he planned to grow into it. His mother pivoted. His sister was having a hard time. Her landlord was difficult. What she didn't say, what he already knew, was that his sister was facing eviction for 4 months of unpaid rent, that their father had been covering her bills for years, and that even that arrangement was now fraying. They left shortly afterward, but the feeling they left behind was specific. It was the feeling of people measuring a space they'd already decided was theirs. ## the email. A week later, his father wrote him a long message about fairness and family duty. The argument, stripped to its core, was this: his son was single, childless, and rarely home. His daughter needed stability. The house, his paid-off, cash-purchased, personally renovated home, should go to her. He could live in the workshop garage, which was insulated after all, or rent a small apartment nearby, and they'd help with the cost. His father did not phrase this as a request. He presented it as a decision. The reply was a single word: no. ## the flying monkeys. What followed was a coordinated campaign of family pressure that many Americans over a certain age will recognize immediately. The aunts and uncles who suddenly had opinions, the guilt-laden voicemails, the appeals to family loyalty and sacrifice. His sister's approach was more direct. She argued, in a series of escalating text messages, that because their parents had funded her college education rather than his, the money he had saved and invested was effectively family money, and therefore the house was, in some sense, a family asset that should be shared with her. He blocked them all. ## the moving truck. On a Saturday morning, he was in his garage with the music up, working on a compressor, when his security monitor caught movement in the driveway. A full-sized moving truck was backing in. His sister was outside, directing the driver. His mother stood nearby holding a box of kitchen supplies. He walked out. "What are you doing?" His sister didn't look at him. She pointed to the front door and told the mover where to put the sofa. He stepped in front of the truck. He told them clearly, the move wasn't authorized. They were not moving in. His name was on the deed. If they didn't leave, he would call the police for trespassing. The mover, a large, pragmatic man getting paid by the hour, looked between them, asked if it was his house, received confirmation, and walked back to the cab. "Not my problem until it's sorted," was the general message. His partner followed. His sister screamed. His mother found her voice and demanded he hand over the keys, asserting that as his parents, they had authority to decide how family assets were distributed. He repeated, this was not a family asset. And then his sister called 911. ## the performance. She told the dispatcher that her brother was being violent, that he was refusing to let her into her house, that she was frightened. She hung up and looked at him with the cold calculation of someone who had spent a lifetime getting what she wanted through other people. He said nothing. He opened his Ring app, confirmed the cameras were recording, and waited. The movers drove away. 2 squad cars arrived 10 minutes later. His sister ran toward the officers in tears, claiming he'd pushed her, that he'd taken her keys, that all her belongings were there. He stood in the driveway, arms at his sides, and stated his case plainly. He was the sole owner of the property. These individuals were not tenants and had never resided there, and he had not authorized any move. The officer asked his sister if she had a lease or proof of residency. She said her parents had given her the house. Her mother confirmed that the deed was in his name, but insisted that as his parents, they had authority over him. The officer's response was measured and final. That's not how property law works. If his name is on the deed and theirs isn't, and there's no lease agreement, they have no legal standing on that property. He asked that they be formally trespassed. He was clear and calm. His sister's expression shifted from performance to rage. She lunged at him, going for his face with her nails. It happened quickly. She drew blood from his neck before the second officer brought her down. It took both of them to get her in handcuffs. She fought the entire way, kicking, screaming, biting. His mother grabbed at the officer's arms until she was warned she'd be arrested for interference. They took his sister away in the cruiser. His mother followed to the station. He went inside, poured himself a drink, and uploaded the footage to 3 separate locations. Then he called a lawyer. ## the legal aftermath. The charges stuck. He pressed for everything: trespassing, assault, false report to emergency services. His family attempted to intervene at every stage. His father showed up at his place of employment and was escorted out by security. A cease and desist letter followed, warning of a harassment suit if the contact continued. His sister was released on bail, with a no-contact order in place. He sent a factual letter to every family member who had contacted him during the ordeal, attached to a link of the security footage and a copy of the public court record showing his parents' financial situation. Most went silent. A few apologized. #the forgery. 2 months later, his title insurance company flagged an alert. Someone had attempted to file a quitclaim deed, a legal document used to transfer property interest, on his home. The forged document claimed to transfer 50% ownership to his sister. The signature didn't match his. The notary stamp appeared fraudulent. The county clerk's office, which had standing alerts on the property thanks to his attorney's foresight, caught it immediately. The investigation led to his father. The theory, as best anyone could reconstruct it, was this: if his sister's name appeared on the title, law enforcement couldn't simply remove her from the property the next time she showed up. It was a desperate gambit, built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how modern property records work. His father was arrested for forgery and filing false public records. Unable to afford adequate legal representation, he pleaded down to a misdemeanor, but the fines, probation, and legal fees were the final blow to finances that were already collapsing. His parents lost their home. They were formally evicted and loaded their belongings into garbage bags and sedans. His sister, unable to pass a background check for any apartment given her criminal record, moved with them. They relocated to a less expensive state in the Midwest. #what came after. He received a promotion to senior project manager. He started dating someone who, in his words, likes him for who he is rather than for what he can fix. The anxiety that had quietly shadowed him for years, the low-grade tension of waiting for the next demand, the next guilt trip, the next emergency that was somehow his responsibility, simply lifted. He's honest about the complicated feelings that remain. His parents are old and in difficult circumstances. There are moments when that weighs on him. But then he looks at the forged document, the neat, careful signature that wasn't his, on a page designed to strip him of everything he'd spent 20 years building. And the weight lifts. They didn't act like family, he said. They acted like they were owed something. And they weren't. He kept the house. He kept his peace. And for the first time in his adult life, he stopped bracing for impact. Is he the bad guy in this story? Most people who read it say no. A few argue he was too aggressive in pursuing charges against his elderly father. He considers that criticism, and then he looks at the forged signature again.